What is up? What is up? Happy Thursday. Happy Treat Yourself Thursday. That's what we call that at JCF, Treat Yourself Thursday. And so I want to welcome you all to the Just Can't Fail stream, the Just Can't Fail show where we turn failures into lessons and lessons into your success. I am your host, Coach Darius, and I am super excited to interview our guest tonight. Homie had me in the gym going extra hard. He has a way of elevating those that he's around anywhere in this stratosphere. And so super high performer. Really super excited to welcome Dan Holguin. I think I said that right. Don't kill me if I did not. Okay. Holguin to the show. In just a second, we're going to be bringing him in. So gang, but listen, until then, make sure, please head over to StreamYard.com/Facebook. Make sure that you just click that little blue button. And the reason why we want to do that, we want to ensure that you come up as a person and not just a lame Facebook user. So don't be lame. And listen, I got to give a very special shout out. My mom is the first one here. Love. Nothing but love. Nothing but I appreciate you, Mom, for tuning in. But big shout out to my mom for and she followed. Listen, and she's not savvy with technology at all. So gang, if she can do it, just go to StreamYard.com/Facebook and click that blue button. Girl, I gotta have you on the show. Yes, you are here. You're about to make me talk to you the whole time. All right now. Much love, Lee. Yeah, your grandkids can't wait to come see you this summer. All right, so gang, thank you all so much for being here. So make sure you head over to StreamYard.com/Facebook. Let us know. That way your name pops up when you leave a comment. And also let us know where you're tuning in from so we can shout you out. You can rep your city, your state, your country, wherever you may be tuning in from. All right? It's all right, Ma. It's all love, baby. It's all good. But again, as I said, I'm super duper excited to be bringing on my main man, Dan Holguin. This could be tuning in from Montana. It's cold out there, man. Cold. But this is a special guy, man. I met Dan in like 2014 or 2015. I remember we were having lunch. Me, my good friend Nissan Trada. Shout out to Nissan and Trot Fitness, who was a guest a few weeks ago. Good friend of mine. We were at a seminar, a professional development for fitness business owners, and we were talking. And I was talking about these ideas that I had, and Dan and Nissan really signed off on like, man, it's something that you can do. You have a presence and those sorts of things. And I'm telling you all of this because that was 5 or 6 years ago. I don't remember if it's this exact sort of medium that I wanted to create, but it was definitely something to get me outside of Jersey City, get me outside of, just my JCF boot camp. And so here we are 4 to 5, 6 years later. We are here and it's coming full circle. And so I really want to take this time to introduce Dan. Dan is a 2-time American Ninja Warrior competitor. He is an ultra runner, which means he's running like 26 miles. A marathon is like light work. So it's like 50 plus miles. And so he's also a fitness coach, a former arena football player, a former bull rider, and I won't leave. I'm going to let him share his story once I bring him on. All right, gang? So please, those that are tuning in, Stacy, thank you for tuning in. Shout out to Stacy and her Fit Life squad. She was on the show last week. Thank you so much for tuning back in. So without further ado, I want to welcome my man, Dan, to the show. Huge round of applause for Dan. Man, please tell me. Please tell me I didn't botch up the last name.
No, you did it perfect, man. And right. I was smiling so big when you were talking about the conversation that we had at lunch that day. That was in San Diego.
Yes.
And I remember that conversation very well, man. And the ideas and the things that you wanted to do and everything that you said, I'm like, yes, like that's exactly the direction where you would be successful. I remember thinking that. So,
awesome. Listen, man, like that was huge for me. You know, you and Nissan, that was my first time actually meeting you. And so just the energy and the vibe was there and authentic, man. And so like, thank you. And I see you from afar, you know, putting out tons of content and doing a bunch of cool things. And we'll share where the folks can find those things later on in the conversation. But, you know, keep on keeping on, man. Like you accomplish, you do so much, Dan. So we're like,
I get a lot of energy, man. Like that was my issue as a kid, or at least one of them was just being able to sit still. You know, when I was in the fourth grade, my teacher gave me the nickname "Sit Down Daniel" because I was just always that kid out of his seat, doing stuff, getting into things. You know, so.
That's awesome, man. I'm like, listen, like all of the stuff that you're doing, I'm like, I can at least do something. I had my whole routine happening before we got on, man.
Now you just gotta ride a bull, and we'll have all the time.
We have to talk about that. We have to talk about it. We'll start with the mechanical, but we'll get out of it. All right, cool, man. So listen, welcome to the show. Super excited. And Dan, we always start with just rapid fire, man. And so I don't want you to think too much about it, right? They always say your first mind is your right mind. And so I want you to name 3 things that are most important to you and why.
3 things that are most important to me, in no particular order.
Correct.
My lady, Gabriella.
Okay.
My place of peace, for sure. My daughter, Daisha. My source of joy and you know, childlikeness, for sure. Awesome. And being in nature and running in nature, without a doubt. That's just like my home base. For sure.
And listen, man, and you're so, if anyone follows you and follows your stories when you're on those runs, I'd be locked in. I think I like nature, but you take it to a whole nother level, like a moose, like literally, you know, a few feet away from you. And I definitely want to dive into that. So let's move on to our next rapid fire question. What is something that you do on a daily basis to level up your mindset?
This is something that I actually just started doing Monday. This is completely new for me, but lately I've been having this thought of me needing to, in order to get to the next level for me, I need to create an ethos on what that level Dan looks like and what he stands for and what he's all about. So I actually just created an ethos, my ethos, and I'm still refining it. But the thing that I've been doing all week is when I get up in the morning before I leave the house, I read my ethos, because right now it's on my phone in my notes app, and I read it out loud, and it's powerful. And I think that like that kind of sets the tone for my day and where I want to go from here.
Awesome. Yeah. I'm just taking some notes. I love that. I really do love that. What's the best book you've read?
The best book?
Yeah.
I'm so old school, man. So in 4th grade, I read a book called Island of the Blue Dolphins.
Island of the Blue. Okay.
And it's
heard of it.
It's a kid's book, man, and it's so good. It's a story about this Native American girl who lives on an island with her tribe, but her tribe end up getting moved to another island and they forget she's there. And it's her story as a young girl of being able to survive in the wild and gather her own food and basically find a way to make it. And that was one of my first stories that I had heard about, you know, just being on your own and independent and, you know, being self-sufficient. And I was just really inspired by it.
Awesome.
Yeah.
What's your favorite quote?
My favorite quote, it changes, but the other day when I was creating my ethos, one of the things that sparked it was something I heard in a podcast, and he said, strong men don't give a damn. And I like it because it's not that we don't give a damn about other people, but strong men don't give a damn when it comes to getting something done. You
Yeah.
know, we don't give a damn if it's negative 15 degrees out or -5 out, which it is right now. We
Yeah.
still have to go run.
Yeah.
We don't give a damn if it's, if there's a lot of work to do. We have to get that done. We don't give a damn if, we've got to whatever, take care of the family in a specific way. It has to get done. And I think that really spoke to me because that's where I want to be.
Right.
I want to be at that level.
Yeah. Awesome, man. And what are some of your best daily rituals?
My best daily rituals? Man. So the ethos thing is really powerful for me right now. Like I think that now that I have something in place more than just a set of principles, I think that an ethos, at least for me, is more powerful than principles, because ethos for me just means that it's way more targeted, it's way more specific. And so reciting that out loud before I leave the house every day is really helping me right now.
Yeah.
Another thing that I've been doing in the mornings is I'm rereading a book that I've read through a couple times. And that book also just really kind of helps ground me and just kind of like remind me of what's important to me right now and what I'm trying to learn more about.
Awesome. Awesome.
Yeah.
Well, thank you so much for that fire during our rapid fire questions. I appreciate that.
Yeah.
Dan, let's hop in, man. Listen, we had a little pre-show talk last week, and it was impromptu, but I was like, I was floored pretty much your story, man. So I think it's been cool how so many things you've weaved in, and to be here is like awesome, man. And so I want you to share your super coach origin story, right? Because I think coaches are superheroes, and so that's where not your superhero origin story, but your super coach origin story.
Yeah, and that's the cool thing is like, wow. I think that like there's always a turning point in our lives where we choose to act different or do something different, or something triggers us to be more. And I think that throughout my life, there's been probably 3 times where that's happened.
Mm-hmm.
Every time that it's happened, it's sent me in a new direction. But most recently, well, let me take you back. Let me take you back to October of 2013. I'm working in a job that I absolutely hate. I'm working in construction, and in Montana, construction is like one of the best paying jobs. The only thing is, you're working outside all winter long. The hours are long, but it pays well. And 5 years prior to this, my job as a personal trainer had failed during the recession of 2008. And this entire time that I'm working in construction, I'm showing up every day, I'm busting my butt. I know that I can be doing more. I know I'm meant for more.
Yeah.
So one day I go over to my friend Coach's house, and I call him Coach because he's my football coach. He's my mentor. He's my father figure. I mean, this man is my best friend. And I go to his house to check in with him, and he's not answering the door. And he's a morning person. He's a morning guy just like me. So when he's not answering the door, I start getting kind of worried. I'm not really sure what's going on. So I start knocking on the door. No answer. The shades are drawn. His truck's in the garage. I go around the back. Nothing. My anxiety's starting to rise. Like, I'm not really sure what's happening.
Yeah.
Man, and like like every episode of Cops that you've ever seen, man, I just like found this strength to just bust in the door. I literally kicked the door in and got into the front door, or in the side door into the house, to figure out what's going on.
Yeah.
I booted that thing, man. I'm not gonna lie. I booted that thing. So I go in the house and I start calling around for him, like, Coach, where you at? I go upstairs, nothing. I go downstairs where I know his bedroom is, and I see him in bed. And I start talking to him, and as I go up to the bed to pull back the covers and wake him up, he's dead.
Yeah.
And it was just 5 days prior to his death that we all went out together, with his daughter, my kid, my fiance at the time, who were no longer together. But it was the first time that we had all been together, and we had a beautiful night together. And at the end of the night, we all rode with him. So when he dropped us off the house, he pulled up to my driveway and he said, "Everybody get out! Everybody get out of the car!"
Yeah.
So we all get out, and he's like, "Everybody come in close," and like we were huddling, like if we were about to call a play or something. We're all huddled up, arms over each other, and he says we're family now.
Yeah.
It was the first time that we had all hung out together. And he kisses me on the forehead, and then he kisses my daughter on the forehead, and then he left.
Yeah.
And that was the last time that I saw him. That was the last time that I spoke with him.
Yeah.
And that was just 5 days prior to me finding him.
And how did that change the trajectory of your path, your journey?
So that triggered the worst 6 months of my life. I mean, instantly everything fell out of control. I lost my job because I couldn't perform at work anymore. I was leading a group of men in construction. Couldn't do that.
Yeah.
I stopped caring about my relationship at home. So we called the wedding off. And because of that, I moved in with my mom because we were living together at the time.
Yeah.
I stopped being a good dad for a minute, which is hard to say. I slowly started gaining 30 pounds. I started spending all of my money. I literally spent every cash account that I had and every credit card that I had, maxed it out entirely. I racked up $40,000 in credit card debt,
Wow.
trying to buy back my happiness.
Yeah.
With things and stuff.
Yep.
And then on top of all of that, man, my truck was totaled in a car accident. It was like every old country song you've ever heard, man. Like I was living that. It all happened. Like we hear that things come in threes, right?
Yeah.
Things came in like sixes and sevens and eights for me.
And what was the span of those sixes and sevens happening?
So it was in a period of 6 months where everything just fully toppled down on top of me. And I remember when I finally when I was moving into my mom's house, I told you that I had spent all my money buying things.
Yeah.
To try to be happier. I remember when I got into the downstairs bedroom, all I had in that room were boxes of things that I spent all my money on. And I just like had this moment where I'm like, wow, here I am. I'm broke, I'm back at my mother's. Nothing wrong with living at your mother's. Respect to mom for even having a home for me to be able to go to.
Absolutely.
But at the same time, that's not who I was.
Yeah.
I love my mom, but I want my own home, I want my own life. And I was reduced to that moment, and that was really difficult.
Yeah. And what did you do to come out of that moment?
So 6 months had passed. And remember, I used to have a personal training business. I used to be fit. I'm not working out at all. I'm overweight. I'm eating terribly. But I've always been known as like the fit guy.
Yeah.
And that really messed with my psyche and really messed with my identity.
Yeah.
But one day I get a call. I get a call from my best friend. His name is Ryan. Ryan calls me. He's like, "Hey, man, I know a guy that wants to work with a personal trainer. Do you want the job?" Now, remember, I haven't had a client in my personal training business since 2008. That was 5 years ago.
Oh, wow. Okay. Yeah.
And in that moment, I had this voice in my head, this overwhelming voice in my head saying, "You can't do this, dude. There's no way." But I had this like little voice in my heart that was like, hey man, you better do something different.
Yeah.
Or you're going to be at mom's forever. You're going to be stuck forever.
Yeah.
And in that moment, I didn't really know what to do. And I was just like, okay, yeah, I want the job. Sign me up.
Yeah.
And I hung up the phone with Ryan, and immediately my anxiety's at an all-time high. I'm stressed out. I'm like itchy and fidgety and nervous because I just committed to changing somebody else's life while my own was still a mess.
Yeah.
And the big question for me is like, how am I going to be able to figure this thing out? How am I going to be able to rise from hell and perform on a professional level again? Like, I just felt so lost and so confused.
Yeah. Awesome, man. And so we're at back to your fitness training business, personal training business, and first client.
Yeah.
How did that impact, you're someone that went from fit to gaining 30 pounds. Did that decision to say yes, did that impact your sort of getting back to your routine, losing the weight? How did that happen for you?
It affected it in a major way, and it affected it immediately. I think that one thing that's always been a thing for me is like I can flip a switch and do something and not really have like a lot of reservation when it comes to like getting started with it. I think it's a blessing for me, but it's also a curse in a lot of ways. Yeah. So if I wanted to just like stop drinking water all of a sudden and then just start pounding sodas, I could do it right now. Yeah. That's what I mean. It's a blessing and a curse.
Right.
But it started right away for me. And I thought as soon as I hung up the phone, like I need to start getting in better shape.
Yeah.
Because nothing is worse than a personal trainer or a coach who isn't living the life that he's talking about, right?
100.
Especially a fitness coach.
Yeah.
If you're not fit, if you're not at least somewhat in shape, that's bad advertising.
Right.
And it's a bit hypocritical. So I went from that phone call to trying to figure out how do I get back on board fitness-wise. And remember, I had my identity tied up in being the fit guy.
Yeah.
And I didn't want to go to a gym because I didn't want to be seen fat, overweight, sloppy,
Yeah.
So in my head, in my simple mind, I'm like, all right, well, where can I go that's not the gym? Well, I'm just going to go to this mountain range that was a couple miles from my house, my mom's house. And I'm just going to start running. Like, I'll just go out there. Hopefully I'm by myself. I'm just going to go out and I'll run this 30 pounds off quick.
Yeah.
Well, find out, man. I don't know if you've ever been in this place. Maybe those that are listening, maybe they've been there. But if you're 30 pounds overweight and you just go to a random mountain and expect to run it, it's not going to happen.
It ain't happening.
It's not happening. Like, as much as you want it to. I probably lasted like a quarter mile. I probably made it a quarter mile.
Which now, fast forward, man, now you're running dozens on top of dozens of miles.
Yeah. Countless.
And so what was that? Like, how did you go from, not able to run 25, 0.2, I'm thinking of 25 quarter, a quarter of a mile to like running, your last race you ran like 72, 76 miles in Arizona, all on trails.
Yeah.
Like, what is the mindset? What is that process like going from, obviously it's a lot of consistency, a lot of hard work.
Yeah.
But if you can give a quick synopsis on what that process has been for you, that would be awesome.
Yeah. So the consistency is the foundation of it for sure. But I think that what's always really motivated me is when I have a timeline of something. There's some kind of urgency, when there's something that I'm working towards. Like if I have a target, I'm going all in at it, whatever it is. And that timeline and target for me was this man whose life I had just committed to changing.
Yeah.
You know, it was almost like it wasn't about me at all. It was like, I need to help this person. And if I'm not in the best shape mentally, physically, or at least if I'm not on that path, then how am I going to be able to do that for somebody else? So I had to get right within first.
Yeah.
So that was the urgency for me. But I think that one of the big things that also helped was having the mountains right there was so crucial.
Yeah.
Because for anybody that's gone through a low point or hit rock bottom, it can feel like you're suffocating in a prison 24 hours a day.
Yeah.
When all you can think about is what you're going through, it can feel like hell.
Yeah.
But I'll tell you, man, from 24 hours a day feeling that way, and then going on a run and breaking myself off every day for quarter mile or half mile increments or whatever it was, hey
Yeah.
man, that was freedom.
Yeah.
That was heaven. That was peace.
Yeah.
It didn't matter how bad I was hurting. I was in nature. I was getting those good hormones flowing in my body. I was doing something that was going to put me in a better position.
Yeah.
But I did it every single day. I didn't miss. And I think that just putting myself in that position, at least for an hour, was just one of the most foundational pieces that I ever did that had so much carryover from fitness and health to the rest of my life.
Yeah. I love that. And you're the second person in 3 weeks to mention the importance of nature. I had a guy that's here in New Jersey, Jay Schroeder, was on.
Yeah.
He spoke about one of his things to help him combat his depression is getting out in nature and being intentional around that. And I also want to use this opportunity. I think someone would see you then, and you have accomplished a tremendous amount. And I think they see someone like yourself that's, breaking off these 30, every week it's like dozens of miles that you're running, But people see that and think like you just, of course, he's always been that way. But like what I'm hearing is that you have learned how to almost put your back against the wall to come out swinging, right? And the opportunity, so learning to leverage things to help you become your best self, right? By like having that deadline, first of all, becoming very aware of who you are and what works for you, and then executing on that. So many of us, we don't even look at the clues that come to us to first become aware. And then when we do become aware, not everyone takes action on that.
Yeah.
Right. So I want everyone that's listening. He didn't get here because he's super duper talented, which he is that. But there's a lot of hard work and a lot of consistency and really mastering self that has come up with that as well.
Yeah. And I think something to add to that that's really important is that I've done a lot of weird, random stuff.
Yeah.
And stuff that like just seems so far-fetched. But the reason that I did those things and have done those things is because I don't overthink the thing.
Yeah.
Like I don't sit here and think about like what clothes I'm going to need or how I'm going to, make the phone call or what I need to do or Google search this. I'll be honest with you, man. I love the idea of just throwing yourself at something without needing to have a plan, without needing to have a parachute. Maybe it's a little bit reckless at times. And I've been in those situations too.
Yep.
But man, building that muscle of not having to overthink something has led me to having so far an incredibly blessed life.
Yeah.
Full of adventure.
Yeah. That's awesome, man. Awesome. What are you most excited about in 2021, Dan?
A couple things I'm excited about. I'm really excited about my race schedule. I got a lot of big races coming up this year. But I'm also really excited because this is going to be the first year where I start having destination, what I'm calling growth camps, like a destination growth camp. And what I'm doing is I've got people that are willing to come to Montana from all over the country and stay with us here at the ranch and learn from myself and another guy that we're bringing in who's a good friend of mine, and just absolutely break themselves off in the mountains on some big mountain runs.
Okay.
Yeah, so it's a physical growth camp, it's a mental growth camp,
Yeah.
but pretty much I'm going to be leading small groups of people through the mountains on a really strenuous, we'll say, mountain run.
That's awesome, man.
Yeah,
And speaking of, you're near your sort of home mountain range is Glacier Park,
it's right at my doorstep. It's
right?
right out the door. Yeah.
Which for can you describe this place?
Honestly, I feel like I try, and it doesn't come. Let me tell you this though. There are very few places in this country, at least, that people will save an entire year or more to visit. I mean, it's a bucket list destination easily.
Yeah.
This is a place where in 1910 it really first became a park. And before that, it was owned and protected by the natives who cherish this land just as much as the majority of the people around here do now.
Yeah.
But we're talking about over 700 miles of accessible trails that go in elevation from anywhere from 3,000 to 10,000 feet in elevation. Places where homes don't exist. Places where human footprints and things like that, they don't exist outside of the trail systems. Places where you can see grizzly bear and wolves and eagles and all of this at every corner. And believe me, I have run-ins with all of those animals all the time. I mean, it's like one of the last best places I think in the world.
Yeah. That's awesome, man. And so hopefully our government continue to protect those places because everywhere is becoming super developed, so hopefully that can continue to happen. What is one word that describes you, Dan? I feel like some people have some folks in the comments, Nissan said I'm not there.
You can outrun them.
What would you say? What is one word that would describe you?
One word that describes me. Man, that's such a hard. I would say one word that describes me is committed.
Committed.
I'm committed, man. Like whatever it is. Like I love just being able to put the blinders on and focus in on the task in front of me and build the program or help the person or run the race or do the like I just love that about me.
Awesome.
Yeah.
So I want to kind of zoom out a little bit because we kind of picked up with Coach C, but in high school, in college as well, you were a bull rider. Which is I don't know many people that have been that. I didn't even know that took place in California. My ignorance always just thought of that as like a Texas, like southwestern of the U.S.
Right.
And then football has been, and then like American Ninja Warrior has been a two-time competitor in American Ninja Warrior. Like, what was that like, and how did you get to? I'm curious to know, like, what was the training like? What was it like getting into that? Yeah.
So the way that Ninja Warrior came around was when I first heard about it. It was 2015. It was right before you and I met. Right before you, I, and Nissan met. And I had a client who came to me one day and she's like, hey, have you ever seen or heard about this Ninja Warrior thing? And I had kind of heard about it in the past, but she was showing me this video on her phone of this person competing. And I remember watching the person competing, seeing her go on these obstacles. And I'm thinking in my head, like, I think I can do that. I may be able to do that one. I don't know about that, but I felt like I could maybe do some of that stuff.
Yeah.
And so I went into pretty much my backyard, and I started like building little ninja obstacles, like little things that I could like hang from. I started going to playgrounds at the elementary schools and swinging on the monkey bars and just doing, wild stuff. And I found quickly that I had these raw skills,
Yeah.
but they weren't anything refined.
Yeah.
And so I just thought, well, you know what? What if I just sent in a submission video to the network, NBC, and let's just see what happens. So I did it, man. Like in 2015, I went up to the same mountain that I got back in shape on,
Mm.
and I shot this 2-minute super chintzy video. You can still find it on YouTube right now. I was
Oh.
so awkward. I didn't even laugh or smile. Oh, I was so nervous, man. But I was just like, I'm like, hey, this is me. This is who I am. I'm this guy in Montana. I would love to dance at the course because of XYZ.
Yeah.
And maybe a month went by and I didn't hear nothing. So I'm like, all right, well, we tried. And one day I'm driving home from Walmart or something,
Mhm.
and I get this 719 number on my phone, and I'm like, who's this? Like, I almost didn't even answer the thing.
Yeah.
So I answer the phone, and they're like, this is so and so from American Ninja Warrior, and I about swerved off the road, wrecked the whole car. I pulled over right away, man, and I had this conversation, and they were like, this is so and so from Ninja Warrior. Congratulations, you've been selected to compete in Kansas City, Missouri.
Awesome.
It was like, it was such an amazing feeling just being selected, because I mean, think about it. Every season, between 60 and 70,000 people apply for that show.
Oh, wow.
They choose 600.
Oh, wow. So 10%.
10%.
Awesome.
Just to be a part of something like that, coming from where I had been, it just felt so good. It just felt so good.
So we talk about the switch, we talk about the blinders, we talk about the commitment, right? These are all the intangibles, and like that's the beautiful thing, because it doesn't require just like pure talent, right? Like commitment and like just putting the blinders on, right? And so, and you're a dad, right? So it's not like you're doing this without those other sort of obligations and responsibilities, and so like kudos to that, man. What failures did you have on this new horizon of American Ninja Warrior? It went from like a peak almost for you. What failures did you have along the way with that?
So I think the biggest failure actually happened after the first season. You can find my runs online. They're on YouTube and all that. But
and is that just we can just Google or search your name, American Ninja Warrior? Okay.
Yeah, so if you would just do like Dan Holguin, Ninja Warrior, Kansas City, you'd be able to find it there.
Okay.
But to quickly recap, the first year that I competed on Ninja Warrior, I was a nobody. Nobody knew who I was. My family didn't even know what it was. And so when I traveled down there by myself. And I actually completed the course, my first try.
Oh, nice.
Ran up the warped wall, hit the buzzer, smoke everywhere. Like it was an amazing feeling. I don't want to draw that down, but I think my biggest failure with that came the next season. I came off the high of that. This time around, I had my family there. I had my daughter there. I had Gabriella, my lady, who was there. I had 19 people, I think. Everybody came down from Montana. And I thought, man, I'm unstoppable. I got my whole family here this time. How could I not win? I'm in better shape. I've got more experience.
Yeah.
My failure came in thinking that I was untouchable in that moment. Now, remember, I completed the course my first year, the very first time I ever tried it, right?
Yeah.
So when I came out for my second season, guess what happened?
Was it the same course?
It was a completely different course.
Okay.
I fell on the first obstacle. The first obstacle.
Wow.
After an entire year of preparation.
Yeah.
After the long nights, the sacrifices, the training commitments, the minor injuries I worked through, 19 people that I love coming down to see me, I fall on the first obstacle. And that broke my heart, man. It broke my heart in a lot of ways. I felt like I let people down. I felt like I let myself down. I felt like I had just got too complacent. I just got too cocky. Didn't think anything could happen to me. And I learned a really valuable lesson. I learned that I've got to stick to my game plan. I've got to be able to go in with a specific intention and stick to that and not just change it up last minute like I did.
Yeah.
And since then, I've been doing that way more often, sticking to my plan. And I think that it's just been a valuable life lesson for me.
Yeah. So awesome, man. So, this is, I don't want to highlight, but I think it's super important to recognize that, everyone, there's ups and downs for every one of us, right?
Yeah.
And the way we respond, and this is cliche, but the way we respond is really most important, right? And this, for you getting back on the saddle, refocusing, you had to eat that dog food a little bit and deal with yourself and the disappointment, which that's always super necessary, right? For us to understand which way to go. So I want to Rasta runner.
Oh yeah, Rasta runner.
Right? Yeah. And so somewhere down the line,
a lot of people don't know about Rasta runner yet. Yeah.
So Rasta runner, talk to me. How did you come up with the name? Where does that come from?
So I didn't come up with the name. I was climbing a mountain with a friend of mine, and I was telling him this idea, much like you were telling me your ideas, right? I'm like, I'm getting kind of tired. I'm getting kind of bored on Instagram. I don't feel like I'm not really doing anything on purpose with it. I'm just kind of posting.
Yeah.
But I'd love to be able to find a way to help people, to be in service, to do something that just felt good.
Yeah.
And I had this idea, man. Like, what if I was to I've got all these exercises that I've created over the years. What if I cataloged them in a feed and I don't know, maybe people would like it or whatever. And he's just like, well, what would you call it? And I was like, I don't know, maybe Dan, just like Dan Holguin. He's like, well, what about I don't know, running Rasta or Rasta runner? And he named off a couple others, but as soon as he said Rasta runner, I'm like, that's it. and I stopped right there from climbing the mountain. I still had service at this point, so I went to Instagram and I got the handle right away.
Yeah. And so anybody, if we can get that up in the screen, so that way, and I think I came across it very early on. And so we talk about that commitment, right? And the consistency of posting and sticking to the game plan, because you're only going to get one. You're going to get 2 slides. You're going to get get the exercise, and then you're going to get the breakdown, the voiceover of you telling people how to do it. And so, but it's awesome. I was telling you. One of my team members, Melissa S., she didn't even say hello when we got on beforehand. She was just like, man, this guy is really fit. I was like, okay, hello, Melissa S., how are you? But yeah, if you please go check that out, because you will find a lot of, if you think you need some variations with your movements, definitely go check that out and follow Dan and give him some support there. So I want to touch on Rastafari, and obviously this is a big part of your spirituality and your belief system. You talk about ethos and those sorts of things, which I do want to come back to. What does your spirituality? What does that mean to you?
I feel like I'm always trying to figure that out. If I'm being completely honest with you, I still don't have it dialed in.
Yeah.
I feel like every day I'm reading, I'm reading this book right now about a man who in Rasta culture is viewed as one of the prophets. His name is Marcus Messiah Garvey.
Yep.
Yeah. And Marcus Garvey is he was the Dr. King before Dr. King.
Yeah.
He was one of the original freedom fighters, the people speaking about injustice and tolerance. And So the reason I bring him up is because I'm reading this book right now, and every day I read something from him that just makes me think, like, it gets me a little bit more clear on what it is that I believe in and what it means to me.
Yeah.
Spirituality right now is what it's doing is it's helping me to like come back to center.
Yeah.
Because whenever I'm out in nature, whenever I'm running, especially,
Yeah.
I'm listening to Rasta music. I'm listening to podcasts of Rasta elders, and I'm able to kind of tap into that. And it just kind of helps to bring me peace. It helps to bring me to center. But I'm still trying to figure out what it all means. You know,
Yeah.
I don't want to pretend here that I have it figured out, because I don't.
Yeah. Well, listen, the truth of the matter is that we're all learning on the job, right?
That's a
We're
learning on the job.
all learning on the job, no matter what it is: parenting, spirituality, finances, relationships.
Yeah.
Like you name it, you know. And so that's the beautiful thing. And I really want to commend you for just being vulnerable and authentic there. You know what I'm saying? And not like pretending like you do have it all together. So I really appreciate that, man. I appreciate that. So I want to, yes, what were you going to say?
I was going to say, last time I thought I had it all together, I fell on the first obstacle. So
just can't fail, baby. Taking your failures, turn them into lessons, and using those lessons as success, right? Turning those lessons into success. So awesome. So I want to get ethos. Tell me about ethos. Like, what is your ethos like? What does that mean to you, and why are ethos important? And like, I think a lot of people hear that when they talk about culture around a business and like a group of people to get everyone moving in the same direction. But how can someone create their own ethos and utilize that to live a more purposeful life?
How do you create? Well, let's start with this. What is an ethos? An ethos, it would relate to the word ethics. What is ethics? Ethics is something that I believe to be true. Whether or not I currently believe it to be true, I know that it's the right thing morally. Yeah. It's something to aspire to. It's something to look up to, right?
Yeah.
So an ethos to me is something that's very specific as to who it is that I want to become or what it is that I want to do. I know that every successful company, every successful SEAL team or Ranger squad, they all have an ethos. They all have like that like set in stone mission statement about who they are. Yeah. And I realize that in my life, I have principles, and they're true. But I think that ethos is the next level of that. It's something that I want to aspire to being. And I think it's different for everybody, but I think about A, who it is that I want to become, and B, where the direction is that I want to go. So how does somebody create it? There's a couple different ways. Way number one is, let's look at like the top, 3, 4, 5 people that you look up to right now. Who are those people? Are they celebrities? Are they entertainers? Are they men like Marcus Messiah Garvey, Emperor Haile Selassie? It doesn't matter who it is, but who is it that you look up to, and why? What is it about them? What specific character traits do you admire about that person? And then I would write those things down. What are they? And then another part of this in creating an ethos is, okay, so I have these things about these people that I admire. Now, what about myself have other people told me about me that seem to be true? So I would just ask a few of your close friends, people that are just going to tell it to you like it is. That you find admirable, if anything. Like, what are those things? And then write them down. So now you have this list of things that you look up to other people for, and you have this other list of things that people look to you for. What are the commonalities now? What are the commonalities? Which ones are in both categories? Once you find those, write them down. Okay? So that's the first part of it. You write down the commonalities, And then you think, well, where do I want to go from here? How can I step up and be more powerful in my relationship? How can I be a better athlete mentally? How can I push through in tough situations emotionally? Whatever it may be.
Yeah.
But you've got to then look to, where do I want to go and who do I want to be from here? And then once you've got that written down, at least what I did is I put those into several one-sentence affirmations. And I chose words that inspired me, that motivate me to say out loud.
Yeah.
And the majority of them start with "I am."
Awesome. So, well, I'm gonna want to push that a little bit. You mind sharing one of those sentences with us? One of those.
It's a little rough. Like I said, I just created this over the weekend.
It's all good. Just one. Just one.
Let me pull it up. All right. So I just called this warrior ethos. It's on my phone as warrior ethos. I'll give you a couple because they're all one sentence.
Okay.
My warrior ethos is, I enthusiastically welcome discomfort. I honor myself and those around me. Relentlessly, I pursue my target despite my current position. I aim to extract excellence out of my teammates. I boldly stand in the face of opposition. I reject fear and insecurity during difficult situations. I expect my commitment to be misunderstood. I detest mediocrity, knowing that I am meant for greatness. And I courageously speak my truth, even when it's easier to blend in with the crowd.
Awesome. I love
That's
that.
what we have so far. It's kind of rough, but
no, that's perfect, man. That's your ethos that helps you live a life of intention and purpose. And like you said, is the perfect that commonality between what you may look up to and aspire for, and be inspired from others, and kind of what your natural pillars are. So that is awesome, man. No disclaimers needed for that. Shout out to Kelly.
And that's the thing too. If you're creating an ethos, it's got to hype you up. It has
absolutely.
to feel something when you say those words, or it doesn't. Or you need to just go back and rewrite.
Absolutely. I agree with that 100%. Now, I've done like life rules, which is something I learned from a mentor of mine, Craig Ballantyne. But I've never done the ethos. I talk about ethos a lot, but I can see how that takes it to another level. I think one is kind of more kind of like actions, and one is like who you're being. And I think when you're being and you totally embody and you identify, that is a different level of, sort of leveling up. So I love that. I love that. I want to get back to some running, man. Like, I'm just curious to know, like, what does your training look like? Because you're not someone that's just run, like you still work, you're dad, like you're, you have your lady, like it's a lot that's happening, man. Like, what does your schedule look like?
Yeah. So when it comes to running, I'm typically running 6 days a week. And then on my
is it just me? Did we lose him? So Dan, you're going in and out. I don't know if it's on my end or okay. There we go. Can I have you start over? Last I heard was yes. I can hear you. Last I heard was you run 6 days a week.
Yeah. Okay. And the thing about running long distances is there's a lot of it that is kind of mundane, kind of boring, because really what makes a great distance runner is how much time he or she spends on his or her feet. And so what I'm saying is, a lot of my runs, if I'm just being honest with you, it's just a lot of miles. For at kind of like a slower pace, like an 8-minute mile pace. 8-9 miles, somewhere in there.
I'm sorry, you said that's at a slower pace. 8. I need to listen.
Well,
See
okay.
what I'm saying? Like, I need to step my game up, man. Here you go doing it again. I'm about to take a pause and do some push-ups real quickly, man.
We should all just do that real quick. I just mean like it's a lot of those back-to-back miles
I
without,
got you.
and it's kind of sometimes it does kind of get boring if I'm
Yeah.
being completely honest.
Yeah.
But I mix in long runs at that 8-9 minute mile pace. I mix in a lot of tempo training. Tempo training is something that actually started by African runners
Yeah.
in Kenya, and tempo training has actually been one of the most proven methods to increase your speed and overall times. So I do a lot of tempo stuff. I do a lot of sprint interval work. And once or twice a week, depending on where I am on the calendar in terms of being close to a race, I do a long run. Okay. And so a long run is anywhere from 3 to 5 hours. And I do that once a week. If I'm getting closer to a race, then we do back-to-back long runs, and that's 3 to 5 hours on Saturday and Sunday.
Got it.
So just
And so now with your tempo runs, like what is the distance that you're doing there? Oh, and like, are you still on a trail in the mountains, or are you going to a track and do those things?
it depends. It depends. Okay. You always want to practice where you're going to play.
Right.
So because the majority of my races are in the mountains, I train at elevation so that I'm getting that elevation benefit cardiovascularly.
Right.
But tempo training is all about time, not really about like distance. So what I'm doing in my tempo stuff is they're typically 20-minute blocks, and I'll go for 20 minutes at a time, and I'll try to hold a specific pace for 20 minutes straight. And then at that 20-minute mark, I'll break for 2 to 3 minutes and then just go back to a really casual, like zone 2 pace, if you're familiar with zones.
Okay. Yeah.
And then I'll do another 20-minute block. That's typically at like zone 3, zone 4 at elevation.
Awesome. Now, how important is with this amount of running, and like this is your, this is like how important is recovery, and like what is the recovery game plan? What does that look like?
I think it's probably just as important as the training, man. It has to be, So I put an emphasis on what I do in the float tank. I do a lot of deprivation tank work, a lot, like typically 2-3 times a week when I'm training. I do a lot of cryotherapy, and I do a lot of infrared sauna.
Okay.
Yeah.
Awesome.
So I have I'm grateful because I have a sponsor that has a facility like that here in Montana. And so I'm in there 2 to 3 days a week doing all of those different things. Yeah, man.
Awesome. And so how much how much time do you spend on mobility or stretching?
So I stretch every day. I typically stretch in the mornings when I get to the gym that I go to in town. I typically spend anywhere from 15 to 20 minutes in the mornings doing that. And I also stretch before I leave the gym as well. Okay. Now, in the evening time, I have kind of gotten out of my habit of stretching. I found this new show on Netflix, and it's amazing, but it's taking my focus away from my evening stretches. So now that I've said that, I feel accountable to Coach Claire. Right now. I'm gonna start stretching tonight. Is that fair?
Okay, that's see, gain the importance of accountability, right?
I can't let the coach down, man. But it's every day.
Awesome. Dan, why do you coach?
Okay, if I take you back, throughout the course of my whole life, I've done a lot of different jobs. I've done a lot of different stuff, from working in restaurants to being in construction, to I've done weird stuff. Yeah. But I've also done things that have been really meaningful. The things that have been really meaningful have been when I've been a snowboard instructor, when I've been a horse trainer, when I've been a personal trainer, a human trainer. Yeah. And if I compared those types of jobs to the working at Taco Bell, to the building of rich people's homes or people's homes, I've always felt the best when I've been able to find a way to help teach something or help somebody overcome a problem. Like that's when I feel the most alive. That's when I feel the most energy. Like when I'm having conversations like this, this is when I feel the best. And when I got away from coaching and was doing construction, it didn't feel very good, man.
Yeah.
But as soon as I got back with that first client and started getting into that rhythm of helping people, and that ultimately is why I do it all, is because that's when I just feel the best.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Awesome. And what is it that you feel you bring to the table?
Experience.
Yeah.
If nothing else, experience. I feel like I've been on both sides of the fence, man. I've been 30 pounds overweight and at my rock bottom in the sob story I told you a few minutes ago. But I've also been on the other side of it at the top of the Ninja Warrior wall, screaming and crying my face off. I've seen both of it, and I understand the mental perspective that comes along with both sides.
Yeah.
And I feel like I can teach those lessons to people, and hopefully it has an impact.
Awesome, man.
Yeah.
Awesome. And I kind of lost my next question here, if I can be 100% honest here.
I'm glad you asked me about Rastafari, because that's the one thing that nobody asks. So thank you for doing that.
Absolutely, man. I like, how could you not? Like, that's a big part of who you are,
Yeah.
And so we have some people, you bring encouragement and belief in people, and that means everything.
Oh, Wendy. I love Wendy.
Awesome, man.
Wendy's been one of my most successful clients, man. She came in a bit of a low spot when we first met, and left absolutely powerful beyond measure the last time that we trained together. It was a really cool transformation to watch. Love you, Wendy.
Awesome. And so we had this kind of moment when you are back at your mother's home.
Yeah.
To now, I've been following you. You've been keeping me abreast of the Rasta Ranch. And so the Rasta Ranch made a quick appearance. You mentioned about the growth. Growth
camp.
Growth camp.
Yeah.
And it's been really awesome. Man, you're like a jack of all trades, man. But but you do a lot of things really well, which is really awesome. Because I've been watching you, build your gym, do the renovations, putting in the bathroom, and all of these things. You're clearing out the land to help the forest, the what did you call it, man? To help the trees, the new trees, have space and grow and those sorts of things.
Thinning out the forest.
And so what is the plan for the Rasta Ranch? Like, what is that going to look like when everything is done? Like, what are we building there?
So the vision that I have for Rasta Ranch is a compound that's entirely self-sufficient. That if for whatever reason the world goes offline, my family and my loved ones are okay. We have our own food sources in the garden. We've got a 1,000 square foot gym that I just built. We've got a beautiful home to live in, plenty of rooms for the kids. And we've got a fresh source of water. We've got a creek that runs through the property here.
Oh,
and awesome. We got water there. So I think in that situation, we have everything we need.
Yeah.
So that's what my vision is for it, is to be entirely self-sustaining. And right now I'm on my way to it, man. I just bought the property last April.
Yeah.
And I can't believe how much work we've already done. It's been insane, man. I've nonstop been going for almost a year.
Yeah. And now, how much are you doing all of the work yourself, or you have contractors coming in?
I have some contractors. So I hired a guy to actually build the gym itself. And then I've got subcontractors that are helping me with parts of that. But I've done all of the home renovation stuff myself. I remodeled the bathroom myself. My father actually comes out and helps me in the yard, thinning out the trees and rejuvenating the forest. He and I do that together because when I was a kid, that was something that we did together. And so it's kind of like this way for us to reconnect,
Yeah, absolutely. Awesome, man. Awesome. And so my final question here, Dan, this is kind of like my parting question. I don't know if it's the best parting question, but it's all good. But what's been your toughest challenge so far and in life, and what's been the biggest lessons you have learned from it?
That's good, man. That's really good. I think my toughest challenge has always been myself. I think that one thing that I've always had to work through is figuring out who I am. That's so hard for me. I know who I am right now. I know what I'm doing right now, but I always want to figure out, like, how can I get to where I want to be? There's always another thing there that I'm trying to search, and it's not unhealthy. But I think that the lowest place that I ever found myself in is when Coach C died. And what I'm most proud of is being able to dig myself up out of that moment, that low spot, and recreate the life that I'm living now, because this is the happiest that I've ever been. And ultimately, like, I know that I'm on the right path because of the actions that I took back then. So I think that if I could give like any bit of encouragement to somebody listening, if you're in that low spot, if you're feeling those depressive feelings, if you're feeling lost, or you're feeling like you just don't know what to do at the moment, the fastest way to growth and transformation is through what you do physically. There's nothing quick. There's so many parallels from a physical standpoint that carry over to how you feel mentally and emotionally. And the more that you invest in yourself physically, the quicker that you're going to be able to dig yourself out of that hole.
Yeah. Awesome. And you brought up a good point. So I kind of lied about it being the last question, just because I'm curious to, hear more about because that's my takeaway of you, Dan, is like, when I think physical challenges is something that propels you to reach a higher level of self, whether it's a better understanding of who you are, whether it's developing the mindset to deal with adversity, whether it's this confidence and like this self-esteem that may come with attempting and being successful at these feats. Like, how important is that to you? Is like, am I on point with that? Like, how important is that like a gateway for you to go, to like the physical challenges, to like having this level of happiness, this level of emotional, mental strength and fitness?
Yeah. Okay. So yes, I think you're right on track. I know that whenever I put myself in really extreme or uncomfortable situations physically, that there's always a level of reward, even if I fail, even if I don't complete the 100-mile race in Arizona.
Yeah.
When I get 71 miles, I still feel a level of satisfaction. And I still feel like when I put myself out there in those situations, I feel fulfilled all the time. Even when I was running those quarter-mile increments before just gassing out and being out of breath, I still felt accomplished. Yeah. And I think that what helps me along the way is that I am so in love with the process of the thing that I'm doing. I'm telling you.
For all of the people in the back,
hey,
stress the importance of the process.
I'm telling you, every single dead tree that I'm cutting up and pulling off of the forest floor so that new plants can grow up from it and new animals can come in. I'm telling you, I love every single part of the process. And
No, if you had something else to say about the process, please do go for it.
I mean, even when I'm racing, man, when I'm 23 hours deep into a race and I'm in the middle of the desert and nobody is around me and I'm in the worst physical pain of my life and I have nothing but the night sky and my headlamp, I love every step of that.
Yeah.
Every single step of that, because that process for me is where the juice is for me anyways. I love it.
Yeah. Yeah.
And we overlook it sometimes.
Yeah. And how can someone, where no matter where they may be in their journey, it may be just starting, but how can they leverage physical challenges to unlock, some of their higher levels of self? Like, what can you give someone that may just be getting started, someone that's sort of, have a consistent routine happening and doing some things, and then someone that may be, I think we can if we can take care of those first two, that novice and maybe intermediate, that would be great.
So I think that it's the same across the board, because it's all relative in terms of your ability level. So ability level doesn't work. It doesn't matter here. What does matter is that you do the thing that you're afraid of doing. here's what I mean. I am not a good swimmer. All right. I'm just gonna say it. I don't like swimming in the water. And if I do, it's like my waist and that's it. I realize that my weakness is water. I set a goal over the weekend to become an excellent swimmer by the end of this summer. And there's this lake that is right down the road from my house with an island in the middle of it. And my goal this summer is to swim out and around the island and back to shore. So I think that no matter where you're at in your journey, you've got to do the thing that you're afraid of. As cheesy and cliche as that sounds, that's how you get all of those lessons and the parallels that carry over to the emotional side, the mental side of your everyday life.
Yeah. And that momentum.
That's it, man.
Well, awesome. Well, Dan, I want to thank you, my man. I want to thank you for giving us your time. Thank you for being you. Thank you for sharing you and all of your skill sets with the people that you're coaching at Rasta Runner, with the individuals that you're coaching, with your programs that you're creating, which everyone can find at a link in your Instagram. And so thank you so much, man. It's been a blast to connect. And I promise you, I have to get to Rasta Ranch.
Come on, man.
Listen, I have a big ass family though, man. It's 5 of us. So I have a big family, so make sure.
I got a lot of land and I got a lot of bedrooms.
I don't know if I'm gonna do all of the running, the strenuous part, but I'm willing to check out Glacier Park and have some views that I have seen you have via your Rasta Runner Instagram.
You know what would be cool? And I just want to put this out there. You would be an amazing guest to have at the growth camps. Come in, to speak, tell your story, to coach, to break somebody off physically, whatever it is that we choose to do. You would be great for that. So I'm going to just put it out there.
Okay. Oh, I lost you. I lost that. I lost your audio. But listen, it's all good because, listen, just give it. That's the juice that I need. So listen, man, I want to thank you so much. Huge shout out to you and your crew that came through, Dan. I'm going to remove you here, but I want you to stay on. Okay, so just stay on in the broadcast. All right, man. Huge round of applause. Thank you so much, Dan, for sharing your journey, my man. Yes, sir. So, gang, that was Dan Holguin out of Montana, Rasta Runner. Hope you guys had an awesome time. It was a wonderful time for me to interview a good friend and a good fitness coach compadre. Thank you so much, Stacy, for tuning in, and shout out to Stacy, who was on the show last week. But thank you all for tuning in. Remember, we'll be here again next week, next Thursday at 8:30 p.m. And gang, if you're struggling with any of these things, wanting to understand how you can create the momentum that you need from starting with physical piece, Eric, thank you so much, my man. You can head over to our jcfextreme.as.me. And what we're going to be doing is offering a buy one, get one free 21-day challenge. Okay, so you and whoever else, you can go half on it with a friend, with a significant other. It doesn't matter. Okay, but we definitely want to always make sure we know exactly where you are. We want to know what you have struggled with. We want to know what's going on with your nutrition, injuries, all of those things, okay? Because we like to coach and train a person, not just the stats that come into a phone, okay? So you want to head over to jcfextreme.as.me to schedule that fitness and nutrition strategy session. Katie Lynn, I want to thank you so much for being a part. Eric, Stacy, Wendy, I don't want to botch your name. Is it Janae? But thank you so much for being a part of the show. Shout out. What else we have here? Nissan. Thank you, my man, the fitness preacher. Jennifer, thank you all so much. And let me know where you're tuning in from, okay? I'm going to stay on for another about 60 seconds to a minute. I would love to be able to shout you out and where you're from. And I got to give another shout out to mom, who was our first. she texted me like, "How do I sign into StreamYard?" I'm like, "Ma, you don't have to sign into StreamYard. Just go there and just click the button." But she was here, so shout out, mom is tuning in from Louisiana. Sola, Montana, love it. I have to get there. I have to get there. I was stuck on Yellowstone, and then Dan hit me with the nah, man. You got to check out Glacier. So I feel like I got to do both. All right, gang. So thank you all so much for tuning in. You all have a beautiful, beautiful evening. Okay, and you all have a wonderful weekend. All right. So tune in next week, 8:30, same time, same place. See you there. I love you too, Ma. All right, y'all. Have a wonderful night.